Wren Baker being rumored as a strong candidate to the Oklahoma Sooners. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up? Welcome back in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby, where we're talking West Virginia football, West Virginia basketball today, and a little bit of college football 26, absolutely. Brought to you by Game Time, of course. And look, when you talk about Game Time, guys, we know they're doing it big. Game Time does it bigger than anybody else, of course, duh. If you download the app, create an account, and use code Locked On College, you can get $20 off your very first purchase. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. I didn't send them. They sent me. So Game Time. That's where it's at, baby. Okay. If you're living under a rock, or let's say you maybe haven't checked yet today, whatever your reason might be, let me be the arbiter. Let me be somebody you can live vicariously through. And it's, it's going to be a fear-based emotion, by the way. Wren Baker, the West Virginia AD that we all know and love, is a strong candidate to replace Mr. Castiglione at Oklahoma. Now, he's not the only candidate, by the way. There are others, and we will get to them, of course. But it's kind of a scary situation, right? I mean, I think Wren Baker is one of the people that we can least afford to lose in this climate. In my opinion. So, if you look at it, if you're unaware of the news, Oklahoma Athletic Director Joe Castiglione, literal legend, one of the greatest athletic directors in the history of college football, and absolutely beloved member of the Sooner Nation over there, is going to retire at the end of the year. He's going to go out, on his own terms and going to go ahead and say, I'm done with this. So he's going to retire from his full-time role, and he's already going to pick an eventual date per Pete Thamel. So this was reported by ESPN, guys. Pete Thamel, like I said, and then he will stay on in emeritus status. So kind of like what Bob Huggins was going to do, but didn't, right? So his official title is Vice President and Director of Athletics, pretty much the same thing as Wren Baker, and he obviously the longest tenured AD in the country. So, I think this is a situation where Oklahoma is going to want to get this thing sewed up probably pretty quick after it's over and done with. And if you look at it, Oklahoma won 45 national titles under his reign, an incredible number. But who's on the hot board? I think that's the biggest question, right? Obviously, you got Zach Selman, a longtime OU staffer and current Mississippi State athletic director, real legitimate candidate for the job. He's from Norman, graduated from Norman High, played at Wake Forest, obviously, but he joined OU's athletic department in 2009. He'd almost certainly take the job. Marcus Bowman, obviously, is on OU staff. He's been there since 2020. He's responsible for basically driving strategy for business and financial operations, and has oversight for ticket sales and IL, Sooner Sports Properties. So he does a lot of the things that an AD would oversee anyways, right? So he knows exactly what that would look like from an AD's point of view. Kirby Hockett, obviously, is another one who has absolutely set Texas Tech on fire here in the last couple of years. We all know that. He's done an excellent job as the Red Raiders athletic director. And then Wren Baker is the other name mentioned alongside this, and not least in that fact either. Obviously, we know he's been at West Virginia since 2022. He's from Valliant, Oklahoma. He went to Oklahoma State, got his master's from Oklahoma State, and has really worked hard to get to where he's at this point in his career. So what I thought I would do is touch on a couple different things as far as why would Wren Baker want to leave the West Virginia job, if at all? What positives and what negatives are there, for him. Obviously, for us, there are more positives than negatives. But there have been some things transpire since he's been here. This has not been an easy job. As a matter of fact, you could argue it's been the hardest job in the country over the last 5 years. I'm not even exaggerating. West Virginia's job already challenging in and of itself because you have to be creative due to the economy in the state and around the university. Throw on the fact that you've had 4 coaches in 4 years in basketball. You've had to replace a baseball coach. You've had to replace a women's basketball coach. You've had to replace your football coach. You've had to replace so many other different things. It's been insane. And yet and still been successful as an AD overall. Second highest in our history, this past year in fundraising. So, he knows how to do that. He's good at that. And I think this is one of those things where he's had to put out fire after fire after fire. He's basically a firefighter. He's a firefighter. He's not a athletic director. The biggest inferno, obviously, the men's basketball program, folks. We're talking about 4 coaches in 4 years. 4 coaching searches since Bob Huggins' messy exit in June of 23. I mean, come on, let's break this down a little bit. Hall of Fame coach, West Virginia legend, had to resign after DUI arrest, and obviously the controversy involving the homophobic slur before that. That alone was a PR nightmare for Wren Baker, who barely unpacked his office by the time this happened. Well, then he goes on with interim Josh Eilert. That didn't work. It was a safe move, I think, in a lot of people's opinion, but a temporary move, right? Which led to a brutal 9-23 year. Hit the home run with Darren DeVries, but he turned out to be a slime ball in 24 last year. And so we, had a great year. Unfortunately, Darren chose to go a different route, whatever. And now, like we just thought we had stability. He goes to Indiana, and now you hire Ross Hodge, who is somebody you trust. The Huggins drama didn't really end with his resignation, though. And, there's been different things you could point out. Fans have clamored for him to come back. Baker's had to dodge questions about it like he's in a dodgeball game. During his press conference, he sidestepped Huggins' candidacy questions, saying he's focused on the future when it came to the basketball opening this past time. And, but that hasn't stopped the speculation. It's kind of been exhausting. And I think to add to that, to the transfer portal chaos, you got Powell, Tucker DeVries. Obviously, we know Armani Hansberry and those guys all left. So, we've been in a roster rebuild that he's had to oversee make sure that they had to front load our NIL a little bit, which we know because Ross Hodges said as much publicly now. I think this has been a merry-go-round that's probably had Wren Baker thinking maybe Oklahoma's drama-free pastures are a little bit better than West Virginia's. And I think it's possible. The Sooners have a good basketball program. It's not elite, but it's probably about where ours is right now, if not, a little better. But they have SEC money, obviously, going to make roster building a whole lot easier, a lot less fundraising. It's got its own challenges as a job, but definitely not financial. Probably not one of the top 5 you're going to mention. Now let's talk football, because I think this one's a doozy, if you ask me, my opinion. Obviously, the rumor floating around Morgantown has been that Wren Baker was, I don't want to say strong-armed, because that's a bad word to use. But let's just say that he hired Rich Rodriguez, and there are a lot of us that know that there was some resistance there. It wasn't exactly a smooth thing. It's smooth now, I think. But at the time, I think Wren Baker wanted to hire his guys, and things kept happening, whether it was Andy Kotelnicki and wanting to play on in the playoff, or Jimbo Fisher maybe not being the right fit, or whatever you want to say. Unfortunately for possibly Wren in this situation, he was forced to look at Rich Rodriguez about 4 or 5 coaches down on the list. And while we all had him number 1, in our hearts for the most part anyway. Not all of us. I know some of you guys out there didn't like this hire. Um, there was also the saying goodbye to Neil Brown part of this that I mean, let's just be honest. Uh, Most people inside the building didn't want that to happen. Most people wanted Neil Brown to get a shot, one more shot. Obviously Rich Rod is a polarizing figure in the West Virginia community. Due to what happened in 2007 with the Michigan, it left a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. So I think, most people speculated that big money donors have pushed Wren to make the Rodriguez hire, seeing him as a Mountaineer through and through, while, Baker may prefer a younger, transfer portal savvy coach to navigate the modern era of college football. So there are a bunch of things that have happened, and that's not even including Randy Mazey's retirement and everything that went around that, which was pretty easy overall. I'm just saying, but it is still something he had to do. Then you go to Don Plitzewhite, who was here for a year until she went to Minnesota, and then you get lucky and hire Mark Kellogg, who's just been possibly the best coach at the university since he's been hired. I mean, it's definitely you could definitely make that case. So let's zoom out and talk about the job itself really quick. Because being West Virginia's athletic director is like wrestling a bear whilst riding a unicycle, really, in my opinion. Like it's a meat grinder. Our budget doesn't stack up to some people in the conference. We're probably, I think Wren Baker called us lower third, right? That's just the truth. So there's a financial gap to begin with at West Virginia. You've already guaranteed you're going to make the $20 million every year. But you can't tell me that finances aren't a factor in this. Can you do your job as effective as you could if you had just a little bit more support or money coming in? I think it's a fair question. So what's the verdict here? Well, could he leave for Oklahoma? Absolutely he could. I think it's probably 50-50 right now. Obviously, you had the basketball drama, the Rodriguez hire, the relentless demands of the job. And I think all that points to if he's offered Oklahoma with SEC money, his home state ties, the chance to run a blue blood program, those are huge, huge pulls that you just can't turn down. And he's a competitor who loves a challenge, and I think he's built real momentum at West Virginia. I think that, the fundraising is up, facilities are great. He's got a knack for landing good hires. He may be the best hiring AD in the entire country, and that's not an exaggeration. Go look at his Match B basketball hires and come and get back to me. So if he stays, it's going to be because he believes the Mountaineers can go to the next level and his family's happy here. If he goes, it's kind of hard to blame him for chasing a dream job. But one thing is for sure, guys, Mountaineer Nation is holding its breath while we wait on what happens here. Curious what you think. Whether you're on X or on YouTube, let me know. Like the video before you get a chance. Subscribe if you're new around here. And absolutely, positively, don't forget to share the video out. If you ask me, though, I think, a couple different things. So while I can see Wren taking the job, I can honestly see him turning it down as well. Maybe just because of that old-fashioned Oklahoma hate. I mean, what about whatever happened to the Bedlam rivalry? How would he feel? Put yourself in his shoes. I'm curious to know how many would do this in a professional setting. Take your fandom out of it. Maybe you have to. If you were the athletic director at West Virginia and the Pitt job came open, but let's say Pitt was a blue blood. Like, obviously, this isn't a great comparison, but let's just pretend for a second that Pitt was a blue blood for now. It's a huge stretch, I know. But obviously, and you have to consider it, right? Financially for you, it's going to be probably at least a third more money than you're making, if not more. You're going to have more of everything. I'm curious, do you consider it, or does your just hate for them prevent you from even wanting that job? Everybody that you grew up with, everybody that you went to school with now hates you because you've taken their most bitter rival's job. I think it's something to consider here with Oklahoma. Wren Baker, I think, would probably take the job if it was offered to him, and most people would. Most people would have to. It's too good of a job. But I'll say this too, Wren, if you ever watch this, man, I know I haven't always been somebody that, you know, maybe has made you proud at times. I know I'm a little controversial sometimes, but I think you've done an excellent job at West Virginia. I think you've left the program in a great spot if this ever happens. Obviously, there are a lot of things that have to happen for this domino to fall. Obviously, I've had you on the show a couple times, and I have a strong feeling for you as an athletic director. I think you're excellent. I think you're one of the 10 best in the country, and it would be an enormous loss. But I would also be happy for you and your family. I know you have a young family and everything, so I would certainly be happy if that's something that happened, and you deserve happiness. So, on one hand, I would be sad. On one hand, I would be happy. I would root for me from afar, but hopefully you can continue to build West Virginia. I don't think we could get a better AD that understands the landscape. So that's my 2 cents on it, guys. Let me know how you feel down below. And I got to ask you a favor up next, guys. I've got a friend of mine. We're going to start a channel together, something a lot of you guys have been asking me to do. We're going to talk about that next. Also, along with Ross Hodge, what he had to say today in the college football 26 rankings. Do I agree with them? We'll talk about it next. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Game Time, guys. And look, when we talk about Game Time, have you ever decided the last minute, to a ball game? You go there last minute with friends or family, and maybe it's game day. Suddenly you realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where game day comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. And look, if you want money, you can save it on tickets. You can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes that possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and easy and simple. Prices on the app actually drop closer to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that'll drive you wild. Takes the worry out of buying, guys. And look, if you want exclusive zone deals for FIFA World Cup matches, you can get it. Game Time has last-minute tickets on zone deals for big savings, up to 10% off on some things. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The terms are going to apply, but if you do read them, create your account right after that. Redeem the code LOCKEDON COLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. And download the Game Time app today, where you can get last-minute tickets at a low price, and that's guaranteed. And along the way, you'll answer the question of all questions. What time is it? It's game time. And we're in segment 2. Of course, we got a crack-a-do wide open as we jump in to some more topics. All right, guys. So I have a favor to ask of you, if you can. Let me get to the share screen here. I'm going to share a screen with you guys. For those of you listening on X, I have a friend that, like I said, she and I are going to start a channel together. And, I don't do a ton of promoting here on myself, but so my friend Olivia and I, who have been through the ringer together, this is us together at a rehab facility, probably, I don't know, at least 5 years ago, 6 years ago, probably. And we're very, very close. So what I would ask is, if some of you guys, because she's just new to X, we're going to start a podcast. She's 3 years clean now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start a recovery-based podcast, because it's on both of our hearts to do so. We both have a strong affinity and affection for recovery. She is very knowledgeable, one of the smartest human beings I really know. And she works in recovery. It's her job. She actually works with addicts. So her X handle is Shay Queen, at Shay Queen 23. So if you could shoot her a follow, please. She just needs some new friends on here. She's new to the app. I've known her for years, a decade. So, we've had a ton of ups and downs together, very close. So I would really, and here she says, here, Recovery Channel coming soon. And she's very blunt, by the way. If you want to hear what used to be two unhinged dope fiends speak on some real life struggles and the way we pulled ourselves out, then you're definitely going to want to check this out. So if you could do me a favor, just shoot her a follow, please. She's awesome, really good person. So, anyways, before I continue to gush about Olivia, let me move on to another topic here. Appreciate you guys very much for letting me do that, though. It's something that means a lot to me. So, and look, and you guys know, I talk about my recovery a lot on here, and I thought, maybe I'll do that a little less, and I'll have a better place for it. Because, and I'm not exactly sure we've got a couple different options. We're trying to possibly do a podcast. We're possibly going to do maybe something topic based, maybe have guests. Like, it's just like anything with any channel. Um, and she's in the chat here, so that's great. So she's in there. If you want to holler at her, she's in the chat right now. But you guys know that a lot of the time, for me, anyways, I have kind of talked about my recovery a lot on here. So I wanted a place for it um, that I could do it and be maybe a little more appropriate than a sports channel, because there are people that don't want to hear it. So, and I understand that. And I'm not saying that you got to, I'm not saying that you should, any of that stuff. I'm just saying that, you know, I know I share it on here a lot. I want to carry that message to you guys. So, and so does she. So we can do it over there. All right. Thanks, Olivia. Yeah, I'll drop her link in the comments. That's no problem at all. Let me do that really quick for you guys. Somebody's asking. Let me get over to it. All right. All right, I'll drop in the link in the comments now. There you go, brother. Appreciate you for asking. That's her link over to X. All you have to do is copy paste that over and to go to X, and you'll be there. All right, so Ross Hodge spoke today. That's one thing I want to get to for sure. And then also College Football 26 stuff happened today, if you didn't realize. So, I got to be honest, man. Some of the ratings are interesting, to say the least. So we'll get there. But if you didn't hear what Ross Hatcher had to say, I'll summarize it. I'm going to use what Ear Sports said on their channel, because I've only heard a little bit of this. I've been busy today, so I only heard a little bit. By the way, we've got looks like a couple hundred of you guys on X, a couple hundred of you guys on, well, no, like a lot close to a couple hundred on YouTube, I think. Please hit the like button really quick. Anyways, so Ross Hodge today on Three Guys Before the Game had some things to say, and I'm just going to quote some of the things that Ear Sports. So this is from an Ear Sports article. I haven't had a chance to listen to the entire thing yet. I'll go back in and dissect it a little more, because you know me, I'll find different topics than your average person would. Like, I look between the lines for things. So there's probably some stuff in there that I would like to latch onto. But he talked about on-conference scheduling philosophy, non-conference scheduling philosophy. There's a typo there. Historically, he said, we always play challenging schedules. I like to challenge our team in the non-league. I think it's the best way to figure out who you really are. You don't want to bury yourself to the Big 12. It presents so many challenges, but you don't want to enter conference play with a false sense of security. You can grow from early losses. That's very, very cool. I like that he's embracing that at West Virginia. I think that, there's no reason not to play a challenging schedule in the non-league. There's no punishment for it. You can lose all the games in non-conference, and then you can win 10 games in your conference and you're in pretty good shape. Obviously you need to win some non-conference games. So, I'm not saying that, but you can play some tough games in your non-con and it not really kill you. Especially if your goal is just to get to the big dance. He talked about why he's a defensive-minded coach. Basically, it comes down to he said he wasn't the most gifted jumper, vertical athlete, or anything like that, so he had to play that way. And then he said something interesting. I found to be very interesting. Why? Because a lot of people have said, "Look, if Ross Hodge is a defensive-minded coach, why, capital W, why has he been recruiting all these offensive guys that have no defensive reputation?" That's a question I've gotten a lot personally. I found that to be interesting myself. I'm sorry, I just seen something on here. I have no clue what those show comments on the stage. I have no idea what that is. Oh, I see. It shows it off to the right there. Okay, cool. I didn't. So if I do this, sorry, I'm having a squirrel moment here, but there's a place for comments to show up. Okay, cool. So kind of like on Twitch, you know how they're on the screen. Anyway, so back to what I was saying with Ross Hodge, and he said the reason he likes to recruit offensive guys is because, and I believe this because if you remember Bob Huggins, what did we always have? Deep defensive guys that over the course of time we had to convert into offensive players. Keedy Johnson, right? Keedrian Johnson's an interesting one. And there have been other guys in the history of the program that we have used that, that maybe when Bob Huggins brought them in were more defensive guys and turned into offensive guys over the course of time. Well, Ross Hodge has kind of an opposite philosophy. He says it's easier to take offensive guys and teach them defense. Makes sense, right? Because I think defense doesn't take skill as much as it does effort. Certainly there is skill to it. It's more IQ, in my opinion, than it is skill. You have to have a good IQ. You have to be able to anticipate. You have to be able to anticipate angles, especially if you're sliding. You got to take the right angle. Just like when you're pursuing a guy on defense in football, if you start with the wrong angle, you're in bad shape. The guy's he's gonna outdo you. Same thing in defense. If you're guarding a guy and he's dribbling, his dominant hand is his right hand or whatever, and he's got a quick first step, well, then maybe you need to take a little bit deeper, right? A little bit deeper. You know what I'm trying to say? Angle to kind of cut him off, especially if he's quicker than you. So, point being though is there is skill involved with defense, especially hand-eye coordination. When you talk about getting passing lanes, getting steals, different things like that. But if you're just talking about staying in front of your guy and boxing somebody out, if you've got 2 or 3 guys on defense that just do that alone, you can have a really great defense. Not everybody on the team has to be elite on-ball defenders that pressure the ball, force people into turnovers. You just need guys that can stay in front of guys, make shots difficult, and then get a body on a body and get rebounds because rebounding is a part of defense. So I think that's the philosophy he's going with here. Guys like Honor Huff, guys like Trace and Eaglestaff, who, if like I said before, if you look at Eaglestaff's on the ball, off the ball numbers analytically, he's a good defender, not elite, not bad. Honor Huff, he gets great. He gets steals though. He kind of makes up for being undersized a little bit because you can mismatch Honor Huff if you're creative enough. Sure, you can, but he does have a motor and he does jump in passing lanes a lot. So, when it comes to Honor, you can really, you can kind of work around some of that. Other thing he said was he had mentioned Honor Huff and Trace and Eaglestaff. He said basketball is really important to them and they want to be so great that they really opened themselves up to showing us and allowing us to push them past their comfort zones. And they can shoot it with the best of them. Honor's playmaking ability For his teammates, maybe you didn't think it was as high as it was. If you go back to his junior year, his usage rate was higher, and he still had the ball a lot more. And the way they played us last year, the ball touched everyone's hands a lot more. That's been a pleasant surprise. So basically, what he's saying is Honor Hupp is a much better distributor, playmaker than what he thought because of the way he was forced to play in his last school. He was forced to be a shooter. He was forced to be a shot creator. So I think that's interesting. I think, if you get Honor Huff a distributor, maybe you play him at point guard a lot or some because he's certainly capable. If you really, he's got the tools to do it. So that'll be fun to see. Let's go to break really quick. On the other side, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about college football 26 a little bit. Get into some of those rankings, some of the player ratings. Does it give us a sneak peek into 2025? We'll talk about it next. All right, guys, back here Locked On West Virginia. Let's talk college football 26 here to end the show. If you haven't seen any of the footage, by the way, I bought the game today. I haven't played it yet. I plan on playing it as soon as we're done here. I had to let it download as well. So, West Virginia has a ton of different ratings to look through. Overall team rating of 80, 78 on offense, and an 82 on defense. And our defense has a lot of good players on it, according to College Football 26. And I'm not surprised. I'm really not. Nico Marchiol, it's so funny. We can't even get a separation in the quarterback battle on EA Sports. Nico Marchiol and Jalen Henderson both graded out at a 76, followed by Max Brown at 74, Khalil Wilkins at 73. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say there's a bigger disparity between Khalil Wilkins and Nico Marchiol than 3 points. Give me more like 10 at least. If he'd have been at 83, I think that's more fair. But 76 it is for now, I guess. Jaheim White, one of the best running backs in the game, at an 89. I think he should be a 90 overall. That's my honest personal opinion. Jalen Knighton is an 83 overall. That's fair. Ty Edwards is an 80. I think he should be an 85, but he'll get there. I really do. And then Dior Hubbard at a 72. He just hasn't proven anything yet, but I think he's going to eventually. I think all those backs. And then Sincere Bowers isn't even on here, and you guys know how I feel about him. I think he could be as good as anybody else. Sorry, guys, I just swallowed something here. Spit. Okay, so wide receivers, you got Cam Bond at an 83 overall, Rodney Gallagher at 79 overall, Jaden Bray 78, Christian Hamilton at 77, Oron Singleton at 77, Preston Fox at 76, Jordan McCants at 72, and Gerard Bowie at 66. This makes my head spin. No Jeffrey Weimer, no Logan Ramper. Come on. Get out of here with that. How's Logan Ramper? He just ran a 4.440 the other day, not on here, at 6'4", 220 pounds. Anyway, I get it. Not household names. They're not going to know who they are yet. They're going to know about them after the year starts, though. Both Logan Ramper and Jeff Weimer, both. I think Cam Vaughn should be a higher rated player. I think he should be an 86 at least. At least an 86. I think Jaden Bray should be probably the second highest for now. I think he should be an 80. He's at 78. I'm okay with Rodney Gallagher at 79. I think that's I don't, he has to do it on the field. And when he does, he can be higher. Oron Singleton, I think he caught did they not look at the stats? He caught 70 balls for over 1,000 yards last year at Division I. I don't know. Preston Fox at 76 is okay. He hasn't done enough to, I don't feel like. Now, on punt return, kick return, I think he should be higher, like 85, maybe 88. Tight ends, they've got Grayson Barnes at 83. which is a kind of a crazy surprise. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to be lower, but 83 is solid. They've got Jacob Barrick at 72, Greg Ginross at 69, Ryan Ward at 68. These ratings don't make any sense to me, to be honest. I think all those guys should be mid 70s, but Ryan Ward and Ginross should both be 73, 75, but whatever. Uh, Offensive line is kind of where it gets a little ugly for now. You look at Malik Ogbo at 78 overall. Xavier Bosley at 75, a former freshman All-American. They've got him 75 overall. Walter Youngbear, the highest rated O lineman, at 81, which is fair, I think. That's a fair rating. They've got Cooper Young and Brandon Hamady at 70 and 66, respectively. At center, you got Carson Lee at 79, Landon Livingston at 76, Robbie Martin at 67, and Josh Isosa at 66. Definitely Carson Lee should be higher than 79. And so should Landon Livingston. But I get it. These guys haven't played yet this year. So it's like, I get it. I understand why. I'm just saying my opinion. If you ask me where they should be, like Carson Lee was one of the best offensive linemen in the MAC last year, played over 1,000 snaps in Eastern Michigan. That's why he went to Mississippi State. He ended up transferred to us after the spring, but a guy doesn't move from the MAC to Mississippi State if he's a 79 overall. Landon Livingston's he's in Texas. He's got invited to Texas as one of our captains. So probably safe to say he's probably one of the best players on the team. We just don't know it yet. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Landon Livingston could be like an 83, 85, maybe. More fire than by the time the year's over. My guy Aiden Muscle got the starting nod at right guard with a 78 overall. Kimo Makaniole, who has been nothing but praised all offseason long, in a 76 overall. Wyatt Minor's 69 overall. This is tough for me on this one because I'm a big Aiden Muscle fan. I think that he's going to be a very good player. It all depends on the kind of shape he can get into. I'd heard that he puked like 30 times the first day and all that. So I'm kind of concerned about his conditioning, but like I don't know anything other than that, so I could be overblowing it. If he's in great shape, then Aiden Muscle's probably, I don't know how you keep him on the field, but then Kimo Makaniole obviously is the most praised offensive lineman of the spring, according to what I heard. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm not really sure how you pick, And then you got Tykees Crawford and Nick Cray at right tackle, which was a little surprising. I don't know if they know something I don't know. Typically, Bosley was a right tackle in the past. Cray was the left tackle. They're flipping him here. They've got Crawford at 76 and Cray at 72. I think both guys are better than that, but they've got to prove it on the field. I understand it. Defensive tackles. Hammond Russell's an 80 overall. Eddie V is a 77. Sonny Redwood's a 76. Corey McIntyre Jr. at 72. Nate Gabriel at 72. Corey McIntyre, even though I understand he's where he should be, right? But I think he's better than that. I think I've said it multiple times on the show. Corey McIntyre's got a chance to be an all Big 12 player if what everybody said for him the last 2 years is true about him. So we'll have to see. I could see him growing into an 80 really quick or something as the year progresses. Obviously, Hammond Russell, I love that he's got that 80. I think that's pretty fair for him. I think Eddie V should have at least been an 82 based off of everything we've heard about him. Sonny Redwood, I'm okay with where he's at. And then Nate Gabriel, I think, has a chance to be a big mover on this too. Our defensive line, it's either number one or number two strongest position on the team. So I don't agree with a lot of these assessments, but, it's just until the games are played, we'll figure it out. Linebackers were shocking. This is one of those ones where it tells me they just don't know what they're talking about at EA. There's no way they can evaluate every player and have that, Reed Carrico's an 81 and Chase Wilson's at an 80. Chase Wilson should be at an 85, 88, somewhere there. He's one of the best transfers we picked up. I've got him inside my top 5 of transfers we picked up from Colorado State. You go look at what he did there. 200 tackles over the last 2 years. An excellent player, can really run. There's no reason he shouldn't be higher. But whatever. I'm great with Reed Carrico at 81. If he plays at that level, that's a great running mate for Chase Wilson. Ben Cutter, 73. Caden Miser, 71. Ashton Woods, 68. Michael Hasty, 65. I'm going to tell you right now, Ashton Woods ain't no 68. But I get it. He hadn't played a snap yet. Ben Bogle, not even on the list. Come on, man. Ben Bogle's our other starter, in my opinion. Here's where it gets interesting. I told you guys all last week, a couple times, who did I say our second highest transfer was outside of Jamori Robinson? It was not Michael Coates. It was Jordan Scruggs. I've said this multiple different times. Well, what do you know? Jordan Scruggs is the number 1 rated corner with an 86. Michael Coates has an 85. Darren Lewis has an 80. Derek Carter, 79. Devontae Golden Nelson, 77. And Jason Chambers at 76. So our corner room is stacked, according to EA. 2 guys at 86 and an 85. That's a really good pair of corners. I'll take that. And then you go to safety. Fred Perry's dang on near a 9. Then you got Kikora Tarnu and Justin Harrington that are both 83 and 81 apiece. Israel Boy, 77. Jordan Walker, 75. Put Jordan Walker way back up there. He should be an 83. He should be an 83, in my opinion. But Will Davis, 75. Zay Jennings, 75. Jason Cross, 69. Then you got some specialists. Ollie Straw should be an 80, or he's an 80. He should be way higher. RJ Cochan, just 61. Nate Flowers, 68. Ethan Head, 71. And Kate Hensley, 76. Okay. If you look at edge rushers, here's another place where we're really good. Jamori Robinson is an 86 overall. Eddie Kelly Jr., 84 overall. Curtis Jones, 78, who's grown a bunch of inches off the offseason, we're told. Braden Siders, 77. He should put him up there a little further. Adam Tomchek, 70. Wilson Telemac, 69. And Brendan Caesar, 69. Those guys should be higher too, but I get it. We haven't played a snap yet, like I've said multiple times. Jamori Robinson at 86, I think he'll move up. I think he'll be in the 90s before it's over with. I projected him to be the defensive player of the year in the conference. And I think he's got every bit of the potential to do it. And listen, an 86 overall is very, very good. Very good. I mean, he'll be an impact player at that. So certainly am good with that for sure. Obviously, Eddie Kelly with that 84 overall is very interesting too, coming off the edge. So here's what we've got, guys. We've got 2 bookend corners and 2 bookend pass rushers, according to EA. If that plays out like that, look out for the Mountaineers on defense this year. And Fred Perry at a 90 overall running around out there at safety? Are you kidding me? I'll take that to the bank right now, baby. Give it to me. Absolutely, we'll take it. Hell yeah. You're just joining in. Wren Baker rumored strongly to the Sooners. I think we talked about it earlier. Obviously, he's not at the very top of the list. He's definitely in the top 2 or 3. So we need to watch the situation closely. And then we don't know. We just don't know what we don't know. We don't know if he will take the job. But all conventional wisdom would say, duh, you take the job, right? So we shall see. By the way, if you're just getting in here, since we've got 400 in here now, I posted a link to my friend in the chat here. We are starting a recovery-based channel together. I put her link in the chat once again if you're watching this on X, her name is at Shay, Shay, Queen 23. A very good friend of mine. We're going to be doing a podcast on addiction recovery together. And she is just one of the most beautiful inside and out people that I know in my life. So I'm very lucky to have her as a friend and to be able to do this with her. I just want to promote it one more quick time before we go, guys. Sorry to those of you that have to listen to this again, but just want to make sure that people know. So Olivia and I are both in addiction recovery. We at different times in our lives, we've been to the same rehab together. I want to say at least 3 separate times. Not proud of that at all, by the way. But let's see, Shay. There she is. So not proud of that. But if you could shoot her a follow, she deserves it for sure. She's a great person. Like I said before, we've been friends for years on and off. And this is like years ago. I don't even know. This is at least 7 years ago, right here. I think 6, 7 years ago. And so this is more recent for her. But you know, she is a bucket of knowledge when it comes to recovery and how to be clean and all that. So I really trust her, and I'm excited to do this channel with her. So if you could shoot her a follow over here on X at Shay Queen 23, I would really appreciate it, guys. That way she can get some followers. She's new to the app. She's trying to navigate it and all that. So she's going to be posting a lot more on there, and we're going to be posting a lot of our addiction recovery content on there as well. So just want to give that another quick promotion. Okay, guys, thank you so much for that. Hope you had a great 4th of July. I know it was unfortunately marred because of what happened in Texas, and why shouldn't it be? Really, my prayers go out. My heart goes out to all those kids, especially that just their lives were cut short. Life isn't fair sometimes. We should be grateful for every day we get, no doubt about it. I don't know what's going to happen with Wren, guys. I think we will keep watching on that as well. But I'll be in Utah starting this coming Monday. I leave Monday. I get there Wednesday. Then we got a bunch of events. They've got everything set up for me. I'll be visiting BYU TV. They've got a TV station there that ESPN uses. I'll also be interviewing head coach Kalani Satake there, and possibly more. So inside the stadium itself. So it's a really cool trip. I think I've said this a couple different times, but so I'm excited about it. I've chosen it over Big 12 Media Days. I think I told you guys that as well. So, because I mean, they're paying for literally I'll just be honest with you, they're paying for everything. Trip down, they're paying for the meals, they're paying for the hotel, they're paying me. So it's worth it, I was joking with somebody else, I didn't ever think I would get a brand deal at 40 years old, but here I am. So, hey, I'm excited about it, very grateful for it. Other than that, guys, I'm out of here. I'm excited to start this addiction recovery channel. I really am so that we can share the message with people that have gone through what we've gone through. We got a lot of crazy stories to tell. And I mean crazy. So you want to be over there for that whenever we start that off. I'll share it on X. I'll ask that you just engage, whether you like, share, subscribe, either one. I would appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. Do me a favor and watch Locked On Portal next. Brian Smith does it big over there on Locked On Portal. He could be the biggest of the big. He has absolutely crushed it last month on the audio side, one of the best in the entire company. Actually, I think he was number 1. So I was in the top 10, but not number 1. Good luck congratulations to Brian. I always tell him, well, you get to talk about everybody. I got to talk about just one team. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good. All right, guys. I will see you on the next one. Make sure you go follow Liv for me. I'm asking as a favor, please, if you guys can, so I'm trying to keep her on the app. I'll see you later.